The holidays are supposed to be a time of joy and togetherness, but what happens when the season of giving takes a dark turn? Tonight, I'm unwrapping the creepiest Christmas tales you've heard, stories that remind us to be vigilant even under the glow of those twinkling lights. From disturbing guests leaving sinister marks behind, to gifts you never want under your tree, these stories will make you rethink the warmth and cheer of the holidays. So grab some cocoa, lock your doors, and settle in for a holiday scare unlike any other. But beware, because sometimes the spirit of Christmas isn't the only spirit lurking around. It was Christmas Eve, and the Peterson family had just finished hosting a lively dinner party. Laughter echoed in their ears as the last guest left, and they collapsed onto the couch, satisfied but exhausted. Around midnight, as the snow fell gently outside, Beth Peterson went to the kitchen for a glass of water. She froze when she noticed a pair of wet footprints leading from the back door into the pantry. She called for her husband, Paul, who dismissed it as leftover snow from one of their guests. But later that night, Beth was awoken by the creak of floorboards outside their bedroom. Thinking it was their teenage son, she opened the door to scold him, only to find no one was there. When they checked his room, he was sound asleep. The next morning, Paul went to retrieve some leftovers from the pantry, only to find the door ajar and empty food wrappers scattered on the floor. Taped to the inside of the pantry door was a note written in jagged handwriting. "Thanks for dinner. I'll be back next year." Carly and Ben had invited their closest friends over for a cozy Christmas gathering. After dinner, they sat around the fireplace exchanging gifts and sharing stories. The house was filled with warmth, the scent of pine and cinnamon candles lingering in the air. As the party wound down and guests began to leave, Carly noticed something odd. A single boot print on the carpet leading up the staircase. Ben brushed it off, assuming it was from one of the guests. That night, as they lay in bed, Carly swore she heard faint rustling from the guest room down the hall. Ben checked it out, but found nothing unusual. The next morning, Carly was tidying up when she found a pile of items, her jewelry box, Ben's watch, and a stack of cash from her purse, neatly arranged on the guest room bed. Beneath them was a note. "Nice place you have. Thanks for the company." Chilled to the bone, they checked the locks on every window and door. One of the second-floor windows was unlatched. The Andersons had thrown a grand Christmas dinner for their large family. After the festivities, their guests bid them goodbye, leaving the house feeling eerily quiet. Late that night, as their young daughter Ellie lay asleep, Sarah Anderson went to tuck her in. She noticed a strange smell, something musty, like unwashed clothes. When she opened Ellie's closet to investigate, she found a crumpled sleeping bag tucked in the corner. Thinking it was a prank from one of her nephews, she ignored it. But as she turned off the lights, she heard Ellie murmur in her sleep, "Mom, the man in the closet says Merry Christmas." Panic-stricken, Sarah flung open the closet, but it was empty. The sleeping bag, however, was gone. Police found footprints leading from the back door into the woods. Whoever it was, they'd been living in the house for days, unnoticed amidst the Christmas chaos. I woke up on Christmas morning to the sound of absolute silence. The snow muffled everything outside, and for a brief moment I felt that rare, peaceful calm that only Christmas mornings can bring. But that feeling didn't last long. I padded into the living room, my breath fogging slightly in the cold apartment air. My little tree was still lit, its multicolored lights casting soft, flickering shadows on the walls. But that's when I saw it. A small box, neatly wrapped in red paper and a green bow, sat right beneath the lowest branches. I hadn't put it there. And I live alone. My family is halfway across the country, and I hadn't invited anyone over. My hands started to shake as I stared at that box. For a split second, I thought it might be a kind gesture from a neighbor, but deep down, I already knew better. You see, for months, I'd felt like someone was watching me. It started with strange phone calls, heavy breathing, that sort of thing, but nothing else. Then packages began showing up at my door. Flowers with no note. Even a pair of sunglasses I'd lost weeks earlier. And now this. My legs felt like lead as I crouched down to pick up the box. It was heavier than I expected, wrapped meticulously. Whoever did this had taken their time. I hesitated, considering calling the police, but the idea of trying to explain all of this sounded ridiculous in my head, so I opened it. Inside was a Polaroid photo. It was of me, sleeping. My stomach churned as my eyes darted to the back of the photo where a message had been scribbled in black marker. You look so peaceful. Merry Christmas. But that wasn't the worst part. Beneath the photo was a lock of my own hair, tied with a red ribbon. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might crack my ribs. The air around me felt heavy and suffocating. He'd been here, inside my apartment. I backed away, grabbing my phone with trembling hands. As I dialed 911, I scanned the room, every shadow suddenly a potential hiding spot. The operator's voice was calm, almost soothing, but I barely heard her over the blood rushing in my ears. I hadn't noticed the second Polaroid until the police arrived. It was tucked beneath the box, face down. When one of the officers turned it over, I saw it was another photo of me, but this time I wasn't sleeping. I was sitting on the couch, staring at the Christmas tree. It had been taken last night. And in the corner of the frame, barely visible in the glow of the Christmas lights, was the shadowy silhouette of a man. Owning a vacation rental near a major theme park during the holidays is usually a joy. Families come and go, thrilled to make memories, and I go out of my way to make the house festive. Every year, I set up a Christmas tree decorated with character-themed ornaments, cute little reminders of the park nearby. Guests always complimented it in their reviews, and it added a special touch to their holiday trips. But last Christmas, something didn't go right. I'll never forget the man who booked the house. He was traveling alone, which wasn't unheard of, but rare, especially during Christmas week. He booked the entire house, even though it had 3 bedrooms, and ignored the spacious master bedroom to sleep in the smallest one, the kids' room. That raised an eyebrow. I didn't meet him in person, but his messages were polite and short. He had no special requests, and when he left, he didn't write a review or respond to my checkout message. That wasn't unusual, but it left me uneasy. When I went to clean the house, I immediately noticed something strange about the tree. Every single ornament had been tampered with. The heads of all the character figures were broken off, leaving the headless bodies dangling from the branches. My stomach churned as I realized the heads hadn't been discarded. I found them strung together in a grotesque garland, which was draped over the bed in the kids' room, the bed where this guy had slept. I stared at it, frozen. Why would anyone do something like this? It was disturbing. But I tried to brush it off as some bizarre joke or prank. I was wrong. When I entered the bathroom, my unease grew. The mirror was covered entirely in black Sharpie, as if someone had been trying to erase their reflection. Words and symbols had been scribbled in jagged lines, and they didn't make any sense. There was no rhyme or reason to this, just a chaotic mess. Then I found the bag. It was shoved under the bed in the kids' room, partially hidden among the extra pillows I kept there. My heart sank as I realized it wasn't part of the house's inventory. It had to belong to that guest. I hesitated before unzipping it, but eventually curiosity overpowered my fear. Inside, I found several small glass jars, each carefully wrapped in tissue paper. When I unwrapped the first one, I froze. Inside the jar was what appeared to be a doll's eye, but not the kind of eye you'd find on modern toys. These were old-fashioned, realistic, with glassy irises that seemed to follow me as I turned the jar. I unwrapped another. This time it held a tuft of hair. Another jar contained what looked like fingernail clippings. There were at least 10 jars, each containing something unsettling. Pieces of dolls, locks of hair, and other fragments I didn't want to examine too closely. The worst part was a small note tucked at the bottom of the bag. It read, "For the collection." I sold that house shortly afterward. To this day, I can't look at Christmas decorations without remembering that garland of heads or those loose jars filled with unexplainable fragments. And every Christmas season, I wonder if he's still adding to his collection. The holidays are magical, but they can also be a time when shadows seem a little darker and the unknown feels just a little closer. Which story gave you chills? Was it the sinister gift under the tree or the uninvited guest's horrifying decorations? Let me know in the comments below. Which story made you double check your locks tonight? Stay safe, stay vigilant, and remember, not all visitors bring good tidings. Until next time, happy holidays and sweet dreams.